Dr. Martin Sweatman, these symbols aren't decoration. They're records, timelines, warnings, and what they show might mean we've misunderstood the start of civilization entirely. They told us Gobekli Tepe was a temple, built by primitive hunter-gatherers using stone tools, before agriculture, before cities, before science. But in 2024, a research team led by Dr. Martin B. Sweatman ran its symbols through an eye trained to recognize time-based pattern sequences, and what it uncovered: a full solar calendar, 365 distinct V-shaped carvings, grouped into 12 clusters, with 11 extra marks. Not only does that match the structure of a modern solar year, it's older than any known civilization by over 6,000 years. This isn't some loose theory floating around YouTube. This is the work of a trained engineer and physicist from the University of Edinburgh. Dr. Sweatman's team didn't just guess, they measured, matched, and modeled every carving. And now, the implications are starting to ripple through history. What if Gobekli Tepe wasn't the start of civilization, but the reboot? Let's go back. Gobekli Tepe was discovered in 1994 by German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt. He realized that the strange stone rings poking through the hills of southeastern Turkey weren't natural. They were ancient enclosures, stacked with T-shaped pillars as tall as giraffes, weighing 10 to 20 tons each, carved with symbols, animals, abstract forms. It was later dated to around 9600 BCE, which stunned scholars. This was long before Mesopotamia, before Sumer, before any organized agriculture, before wheels, before metal. And yet, here stood a monument complex, more complex than anything built for the next 6,000 years. Some archaeologists speculated it was a ritual center. Others guessed it was a communal hub. But nobody had a real answer for how a group of supposed hunter-gatherers organized the engineering, logistics, and manpower to build it, and then, mysteriously, buried it. The site wasn't destroyed by erosion. It was intentionally filled with rubble and dirt, like someone wanted to preserve it. But preserve what? Dr. Sweatman may have found the answer. He was already known for his work on Pillar 43, the vulture stone. In 2017, he proposed that the carvings on it were not random but astronomical constellations. Using star mapping software, he matched their alignment to the sky on a specific date, around 10,950 BCE. The same year proposed for the Younger Dryas impact event, a planetary-scale disaster theorized to have triggered global cooling, mass extinctions, and the collapse of early human populations. Sweatman argued that the symbols weren't just art, they were the first astronomical record. And now, with AI-assisted analysis, he's found something even more incredible. The so-called V symbols, previously dismissed as decorative or tally marks, appear with remarkable regularity. Grouped in sets, spaced with near-perfect proportionality. Carved along the faces of multiple pillars, spanning different enclosures. When fed into an eye trained to look for solar-lunar cycles and calendrical systems, the results became undeniable. 365 marks equals days of the solar year, 12 major groupings equals months, 11 stray marks equals correction days, the same way modern calendars account for leap years, and more than that. The positioning of these marks corresponds to the appearance of solstices and equinoxes at that latitude at that time. Let that settle in. People who supposedly didn't farm, couldn't write, or calculate orbits not only tracked the sun with high precision. They carved it into stone 11,600 years ago. So what else could they do? They were recording a moment in cosmic time, when a celestial object, possibly a comet, triggered massive environmental destruction. A carving on Pillar 43 depicts a headless human. Another shows animals in flight. The combination, when read as a symbolic sentence, seems to narrate an apocalyptic event. Eye analysis has now linked similar symbol sets across enclosures, showing redundant pattern encoding, which in computer science is often used for error correction or reinforcement. In other words, this wasn't a one-off message. It was a system of memory. A message so important that it was repeated across multiple monuments, generations, possibly centuries, then buried, as if to preserve it for us. Now let's go even bigger. Because Göbekli Tepe isn't alone. In recent years, archaeologists have uncovered Karahan Tepe, Seeberg, Sefer Tepe, and other sites in the region that appear to belong to the same civilization. Massive pillars. Stone artwork with almost identical motifs. These may represent a lost city system, with Göbekli Tepe as the central temple or knowledge archive. Sweatman's theory: we're only seeing the top layer of an ancient scientific complex. A network of observatories, records, and geometry encoded across the Anatolian highlands. Some of these new sites even include crude carvings of humanoid figures, eyes wide, limbs outstretched, standing beneath cosmic symbols. Are they witnesses, or messengers? Let's talk about what happens when AI enters the picture. This isn't speculative metaphysics or dream logic. We're talking about machine learning algorithms that have been trained on ancient calendars, symbol systems, celestial alignment data, archaeo-astronomical maps. When these systems were given high-resolution scans of Göbekli Tepe's carvings, they didn't just find randomness. They found mathematical recurrence, ratios, symmetry, outliers that appear to represent leap cycle compensation, something modern calendar designers still struggle with. This means Göbekli Tepe wasn't guessing the year. It was tracking it with remarkable accuracy. And it raises one brutal, world-shifting question: where did they get that knowledge? Because you don't invent a solar calendar by accident. You inherit it, or you survive something that forces you to remember. Mainstream archaeology is pushing back. They argue that interpreting ancient carvings with modern tools is dangerous. That we're seeing patterns where there are none. That the people of Göbekli Tepe weren't tracking time. They were simply expressing belief. But these same scholars also admit that we don't know who built it. We don't know why it was buried. We don't know what half the symbols even mean. And most importantly, only 5% of Göbekli Tepe has been excavated. 95% remains underground, unscanned, untouched, and off-limits to independent researchers. So maybe we're not wrong for asking more questions. Maybe we're wrong for not asking loudly enough. Let's imagine what's still waiting under the dirt. Entire enclosures we haven't seen. More carvings, more alignments, stone libraries, astronomical maps. Messages left behind by people who knew something was coming, and built these places so we could know it, too. If Göbekli Tepe is a memory capsule, a warning etched into stone, what will happen when we decode it all? What will we learn? Or maybe the better question is, what will we unlearn? Dr. Sweatman doesn't claim to have every answer. But he does believe one thing with certainty: Göbekli Tepe is not a random temple built by primitive people. It's the fingerprint of a forgotten intelligence. And for the first time in 11,000 years, we might finally be listening. If you think Göbekli Tepe is just ceremonial art, comment, just symbols. If you believe it's a cosmic timecode left by survivors, comment, sky code. And hit subscribe, because the next ancient message we decode might not be from the past. It might be for the future.